All right, Mike. Now we're recording. Welcome everybody to Making Comics, episode 2. Still sort of searching for a better title to the show than that, and just Making Comics, episode whatever. But I'm here with Mike. Mike, thank you for coming by.
Um, Mike S. Miller, you mean?
Yes, Mike S. Miller. Um,
You have to presume that your fans don't know who I am when you're
the
bringing on guests.
I guess so. I guess I'm just assuming that most people tuning in are probably going to be familiar with you. But for anybody that is finding this that isn't so familiar with Mike, this is Mike S. Miller of Lone Star fame and of Injustice fame. And I think you did the most issues of Injustice more than anybody else, didn't you?
I don't know if it was more than anybody else. I did about a third of the entire Injustice Gods Among Us
Yeah.
series. So.
Yeah, they gave away a free issue of that. I forget how long ago it was, like 2013 maybe or 14, and that was how I discovered your art. Was
Oh, really?
yeah, that issue they gave away. And then when I wanted to get the paperbacks, my cousin was like, "Oh man, I'll get them for you." I think my birthday was coming up, and he's like, "No, I'll get them for you." And then he never got them for me. And I was always reminding him, like, "Didn't you say you'd get me these?" He's like, "Yeah, I will." And he just
What a
never did.
jerk.
So I just never caught up on Injustice after that like one issue they gave
Disown
away.
that guy, man. Disown that cousin. He's worthless.
Oh, I have by now because he stole a book from me, but
What?
oh
Oh my
man,
God.
he stole a few from me and I haven't even got them all back. But that's besides the point. We're not here to talk about my dumb cousin. Um, Recently on a stream, Mike, we had talked about some scripts you had worked on in the past, and some you had worked on with I think Tom Taylor's the guy that wrote Injustice, and I think you've worked
Yeah.
with them on a few other things, and some comics you worked on with Mark Waid, which I want to track those down since you said those were really great stories. I haven't read what you worked on with Mark Waid, but I want to track those ones down now.
JLA.
Well, I know it was JLA, but
Oh, what issue number?
yeah, I don't know the numbers, but I'm sure I'll find them when I Google them. If you don't know them
It's the Terror Incognito storyline. If you
already,
read the trade.
I will look that up then. But anyways, me and Vic might show up on this. Who knows? He has the link, but we had thought about asking you a few questions related to craft and all that stuff. And originally, I was gonna do an episode about collaboration and just talk about different um, things that like an artist might have come up with or something I might have tweaked when working on my other comics, and even something that Vic just tweaked in our comic that we've got right now, Asile, which shameless plug. I'm pulling it up here on the screen, Mike. You can't see it, but they can because I'm recording this in OBS. But Asile, if you guys haven't backed it yet, is down in the description, as well as the links to Lone Star and Monster Hunt, Mike's two comics that are up right now. But so I do have a few questions for you about collaboration, about craft, but I think I'm most curious first about one thing that me and Vic were talking about, which was we're curious about what your process was like in your teens or your 20s, trying to improve, trying to be good enough to get into the industry. And I think you got in pretty young though. Like I think you were what 21, I think, or 22 when you like I guess quote unquote
Oh,
officially
oh,
got in.
I was 20.
Oh, 20. Okay. So even younger than I thought. Okay. So
Yeah, it was
then
summer of 1992, so it would have been before my birthday.
hmm. So okay, so then you got in very young. So then when you were like so when you were a teen though, what was your routine like? Like what were you doing to improve so that way you could be good enough to get into the industry to get a gig?
Uh, I just drew a lot, man. I didn't really think about. Um, Honestly, at that time in my life, I drew comics just because it was fun. I didn't draw it because I was trying to get into the industry or anything. And I wasn't even really, when I was younger, when I was like in seventh grade, I wanted to be a comic book artist. And I'd always drawn a lot of stuff in the comic book style, but it had never really dawned on me like during my high school and junior college years that I could make a living being a comic book artist. So I kind of I either wanted to go into biomechanical engineering or into making movie posters,
Oh,
like
okay.
Drew. because Drew Struzan was like, I love Drew Struzan's work.
Oh, I love his work too. I know
Yeah,
he did the poster for the Thing, and I know a few others he's done, but I'm blinking off the top of my head. But I just know
yeah,
I
like
know
all
at
the
least that
Ford
he did that
movies,
one.
all the Indiana Jones movies,
Oh
Funny
yeah,
Farm, Goonies. I mean, he was like the go-to guy. Um, but yeah, so that's where I wanted to go. But in 1992, I had heard that they were, it was the boom, right?
right.
I heard, and I don't even know if this is true, but I heard Ron Lim was making like $30,000 a month drawing comics, and I'm like, I can draw comics, so I just grabbed my stuff and put it in a brown paper bag and went to a Comic-Con and got work.
Did you ever end up making a movie poster like you thought you would?
The closest I got to actually making movie posters was I did a series of covers for some Fangoria DVDs.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Fangoria or published some movies a few years ago. Sin Eater and I don't know. There was like 6 of them, I think. I have the DVDs here,
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah. And so yeah, I think that was about as close as I ever got to doing movie posters.
Maybe we'll take a look at them if they're not too far out of reach.
Nah,
Um,
they're in the garage.
oh, okay. Um, but so when you went so you went to a con to get work, and then was it just like easy? Like was the editor just like, all right, like on the spot, like, all right, you're good, we'll get you something, or did he think about it? Like he called you the next day, or how'd it go?
Well, I went and I shopped around to Marvel and DC. I got business cards from Tom DeFalco, who was EIC at Marvel at the time, and he told me to keep sending stuff in, which I did, and I actually ended up getting work from that connection as well. But then who else was it? I can't remember what the other editors were, but I ended up going and talking to Jeff Johnson, who I had met like the week before at a Bay Area comics club. I'm from San Jose originally,
Uh-huh.
not originally, but back then. Um, and he told me to go show my work to Chris Ulm over at Malibu. And so I went over. I hadn't even thought about submitting to Malibu. I just wanted Marvel and DC, and there was no Image at the time. And so I went over there and I showed him my little brown paper bag of artwork, and he said he'd give me work. So
Right. And then how long did it take until you were at Wildstorm? Because I know you and a bunch of those guys from that era, like you guys were all working at a Wildstorm together, like you and Jason Johnson and a few others too. Like, how long did it take you to go from there over to Wildstorm?
it was about a year and a half, 2 years.
And what opened that door?
Well, the next year, I walked up to Jim Lee and I threw my art down and I said, I thought you might like to see this. And he offered me a job. Now I'm not going to go into the whole story of how that all fell apart.
Okay, maybe off the air. I promise we'll be done recording when you talk about it. I won't secretly record it, Mike.
And then when that fell apart, I actually ended up moving down to San Diego anyways that fall, late summer. And then I just started getting work there at Wildstorm. I think I called Jim and I said, hey, I live down here anyways, can I come in? And I went in and we he started getting me work there. I never officially joined, but I was there like probably at least once a week to pick up or drop off work. Hung out for a while, got to be friends with some of the guys there, and yeah, that's my Wildstorm story.
That's pretty cool, man. I
But
love.
prior to that, I was inking for Eric Larson.
Oh, okay. I actually don't think I knew that.
Yeah, I was inking Freak Force for Eric Larson. I met Vic Bridges at San Diego Comic-Con. Oh boy, was it the same year? Yeah. I don't know that either 92 or 93. I met Vic Bridges at San Diego. He gave me a page because I'd never seen anyone ink with a quill before, so it must have been the next year. And I'd never seen anyone ink with a quill, and so he gave me a quill. He gave me like a page like this that was half drawn, and he showed me how to use a quill, and he told me to go practice. I went to go practice. I got home. I gave we exchanged contact info. I got home. I think that Tuesday or Wednesday, just a couple days after I got home. I was tooling around on that page. I hadn't even finished inking it on my first practice page of Quill, and Vic calls me and he says, "Hey, we're looking for an inker." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, have you practiced with that Quill?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got like half the page." And he's all, "Cool, I'm gonna send you a tryout pinup." So he sent me a tryout pinup. I inked it. It was literally the first page I'd ever completed with a Quill. I sent it to Eric Larson, and he hired me.
That's interesting, man. I love hearing stories about like the early '90s and the early image days and the whole comics boom. That's really interesting to me. Just how things went really well, and then how quickly it all I don't know if I want to say got destroyed, because I don't think it was I don't think it exactly got destroyed, but they went from selling millions down to selling thousands. Like, it was a pretty giant leap down, I guess.
Yeah, Savage Dragon sells like 3 to 4 thousand copies now.
Yeah, but like back then, what was it like when you saw like the industry go from millions of copies of Superman each month down to like, I don't know exactly what it jumped down to, but I know it wasn't millions anymore. It was down into the thousands. What was that like? Like, was it harder to get work at that time?
I don't think Superman was ever one of the books that sold millions.
I
The
think
only
it, I think it was around the time of Death of Superman. Like, that was
Oh
like the
well, yeah, just that one book though. But that was before I even got into the industry.
Yeah, but then around like the time we're talking about now, like '92 is around when the image books started to come out, and those ones were automatically selling a couple million because everyone wanted that number one.
Yeah, yeah.
And did it get like harder after that to find work, or do you think things were still pretty steady even though the numbers really dropped?
It's an interesting question. It's I don't know. I used to say once you're in, you're in. But once you're in. But staying in is still work, right? It's like unless you're like in really good with one particular editor or something, and he just constantly wants to keep giving you work, then you're out there, shopping around looking for other editors. I used to have a little a booklet, and it had all of my different editor contacts, and it had I marked down when to contact them. It's like I'd call them, I'd see if they had any work. If not, I'd say, when do you think I should check back again? They'd say 2 to 3 weeks. I'd write down 2 weeks, and then I'd try, it was work to try to keep your calendar full. Um, if you weren't like, some super hot commodity or something.
So, even though I know you're doing all the self-publishing stuff now, but even like a few years ago, before you started doing this, is that process still the same of like you got to hunt down the editors, or because you've been in it for so long, they just sort of come knocking every once in a while, with a new gig or
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like for Injustice, they contacted me to do it because the writer Tom Taylor requested me because we had worked together on The Authority the previous year, and he really loved that I can actually draw emotions and expression, because most comic artists can't. A lot of
right. That's one of the things that sticks out about your art most to me is, I really hate when I open up a book and every character has the same face,
yeah,
and for writers, I guess it's same voice, but
yeah.
for artists, it's same face. And I think well, I don't know. I don't want to start naming names of artists you've mentioned before that do it, but I mean, I'll at least name one or two. But like, as much as I love Jim Lee, I think a lot of the times he does same face, and
Yeah, Same expression, same face. You've got on or off. You've got angry, or you've got standing there.
Right, standing there.
You know, it's like, how about a range of emotion? That'd be fun to try.
Right. And that's what I really like about what you do, and how you're able to actually do different faces and expressions. Now, was that something like you were conscious of, or was that something that just sort of happened?
Um, I don't know. I think it's because I like drawing expression, so I guess that's a conscious choice. I like. I mean, that's why I like characters like the Joker or Plastic Man, or even characters, because I don't tend to draw cartoony stuff, but I like cartoony expressions. So if I can have a character that has cartoony expressions, but he's just a normal person, um, I'm not like trying to draw Bugs Bunny or something.
Yeah,
Uh,
I like that too, and I also like this is something I saw in Common America 2 recently was, Tim will draw like the characters in like his normal style, and then which is already cartoony, but like the expression isn't, totally cartoony, like it's more serious, and then he'll have like a smaller panel where they do the overly cartoony like face where like they look at each other confused or something, then the next panel like goes back to normal. I like stuff like that.
mm.
But this also leads me into some other questions I've got for you. Like when you said they requested you for injustice and that sort of thing. Was that your best experience collaborating, or what do you think was?
Collaboration wise, no. I didn't collaborate with Tom.
Uh huh.
I would make suggestions to Tom, and Tom would ignore them. And then I would talk to him about it later. I said, "Hey, did you get that suggestion?" He's like, "Yeah, I ignored it." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you were right." And I'm like, "What?"
Well, you would think he would acknowledge it then, but
Yeah, but if I'm right, he probably would have had to change this scene, and
right. Well, I mean, I just sort of used the term collaboration because I just thought like, he requested you, so maybe there was sort of that synergy that sort of, bouncing off each other,
yeah,
working.
no, just that I could draw expressive characters well, and he likes to look. That's a very emotional book.
Yeah.
And so he wanted someone who could actually pull off emotional moments, and that's why they gave me all those moments, I guess.
Well, then, did any writers listen if you ever said like, here's this suggestion, maybe we could do this instead or something? Like, did they ever listen?
Um, trying to think of any writers that I didn't hire. Writers
Well,
I hire tend to listen to me when I tell them to change stuff. Uh,
well, I mean, I at least I listened to something you said after you read my book Stardust, and you talked about the voices needing to sound different. I became very conscious of that
oh, good.
afterwards, and that was something I was
Nasser.
uh
See?
that was something I was always careful to make sure about. Like I have like little like tricks and stuff I do to make sure like, everybody's got their little tick, like me personally, like the chat always points it out, like you say and a lot, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know maybe I'll make sure like a character has a word she or might say a lot of. Sorry, I say she because I was thinking of a specific character that I wrote where she said the word so a lot, or they might have that certain phrase they use, like hey you or something, just something to differentiate them.
Yeah,
um but so did so but any writers you didn't hire, none of them listened to you? Is there not an example you could think of?
I did not get mine. Oh, look, I got a hamburger.
Ooh, cool.
They didn't grill the onions.
They did not grill the onions. I didn't order animal style. Sorry, what was the question, Nasser?
No, I was just wondering if you ended up thinking of
The
any
part of
more.
the stream where Mike eats.
Right. While you eat, I will go through. And I'll talk about the books because I got them pulled up here. And again, you're not going to see it, but everybody watching will. But I'll go through with my campaign first, just because I have it up in the first tab. But guys, this is Asylum right here, my comic with Vic King, written by me, drawn by Vic King. It's about a woman who's hunted by Dracula in an insane asylum. We're up to 66 backers, $2,104, 23 days left. And our tiers right here start with $10 for a physical copy or a digital copy. Those are our cheapest buy-in points. We've also got the thank you page. and you guys could see some of the art here. Let me zoom in for you guys. I sort of got roasted in episode 1 of the Making Comics show because I was going through one of my old comics and I had it pulled up on the screen here, and of course, I've got this big computer screen, I could see it fine, but I wasn't thinking that everybody watching it will be shrunk down. And so some people were like, well, we can't always see all the examples, you needed to scroll in. But I'm scrolling in on the pages for you guys now, and this is the newest art we've got up is the trading card from Jim O'Reilly. So this trading card right here comes with every physical purchase. Let me scroll back up to the top, and still while Mike eats, well, Mike, if you ever feel like interrupting me at this point, you can, because I'm looking at your campaigns. But we've got Lone Star, Mind of the Monster here, with 327 backers, $18,765. Couple weeks left on this book, guys. This is book 3. You could read book 1 for free here on this PDF. And also, the previous 2 books are available on here. I've read the first 2, and I really like them. And we've got some preview art here of the Kim Jung-ji, I think his name is, cover right here. Let me zoom in for you guys. It's colored by Kelsey Shannon, and this is a fantastic cover. When I get around to backing this campaign, this is the cover I'm going with. So I think you guys all should too. And here's some of the other covers we've got here. Of course, this one's not final colors, but it's still great art. And let's see, here's another cover here. Some more covers, a lot of variant covers, but we've got some art here. Some preview pages here that just looks absolutely fantastic. And I think Mike said before on the previous stream that this one right here took him like 3 days to draw.
Uh-huh.
I love the detail on this one.
Thank you.
But yeah, let's go through these preview pages a little bit more. Actually, I think that's the last one. Okay, thought there might have been a couple more. But anyways, we'll scroll back up. And then, of course, guys, there's Monster Hunt. This is the second Monster Hunt book, and I believe both of them are available on here. And there's a Black Friday deal on here as well, and some other tiers. You guys could get all the different covers here. This one, I think you've described as more like you're the director on this one. And you're just overseeing...
Yeah, I had the initial concept for the story. I pitched it to Mike Barron. He loved the idea, and then he went ahead and did a story that was nothing like the story I pitched. So
do you think it's a good instance where the writer didn't listen to you, where you're like thankful for it now?
Yeah, because his imagination is... Mike's crazy. Mike is a crazy person, and so his story is crazy, but it's crazy good. It's crazy fun, and just it goes in all these different directions that I never would have conceived of because I'm a sane person, and so it's like it's so, dude, it's gonna be such a rollicking good time for anybody that backs it. It's fantastic.
It might be too early to ask this, but you think you're gonna bring him back for the next book then? Mike? Sorry, it's going a little robo. Apologies for the robo-ness. Mike, it's I lost you. It shows you loading. I think you're back now. Okay. I think you're back, Mike.
All right.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you now.
Well, what I was saying is that we have it set up so that if this one does well enough, then we can do the next one, and we've already got a good setup for the next one. But
gotcha.
But what I was going to say is that even in Mike Barron's case, even though I'm acting as director, and I did have to sort of correct him on a couple of major things. I didn't want to override the Mike Barron-ness of the script, of the story itself. So I kind of let him, bend a couple of the rules of my universe just for the sake of making sure that this book had his voice, because I didn't want it to read like a Mike Miller book. I wanted it to read like a Mike Barron book. So I wouldn't be one of those editors or directors or whatever who's trying to stifle. There's a reason you hire good, great talent, right? It's because they do great work. It's the Jim Shooter approach. Hire great people, let them do great work, and publish it. So this is a very Jim Shooter-esque story, which is funny since Secret Wars was kind of the I don't know if it's the model, but just bringing together these different characters, and we are doing the Secret Wars homage.
Yeah, I just pulled up that cover right here. Yeah. Sorry, I sometimes I forget you can't see the screen, but yeah, I just pulled it up to the Elliot Fernandez cover, which is, I believe that's the one I bought for the first Monster Hunt. But yeah, if when I get around to backing this one, I'm sure I'll get Elliot's cover just so I could have all the Secret Wars homages.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and it'll be great if we just keep doing this, 12 issues later. What if we have 12 Secret Wars homage covers? That'd be so rad.
That'd be really nice. That'd be really nice, and make a really nice gallery in the back of the book. If you collect them all.
Yep.
Yeah, but guys, that's Monster Hunt. Let me return to StreamYard here. But yeah, anyway, sorry. Before you started eating and before we started to pitch and stuff, I was asking if any example did come to mind, though, of when a writer that you didn't hire listened to you when you had any sort of suggestion or idea.
Well, I remember a time when I was doing X-Man, but it wasn't really the writer. I actually wrote a page I wrote a scene into X-Man for the sole purpose that I hated X-Man's costume. Could you guys be quiet, please?
I'm
talking. And so we had this story where Nate was visiting, or he had this adventure with Scott and Jean, and I was like, hey, can I write a scene here where Nate's costume his outfit, whatever the hell you want to call it, gets destroyed, and so Scott gives him one of his old prototype X Factor costumes, and my editor was like, yeah, sure, do it. So that's how I redesigned X-Man to look like he had that old stylized X Factor costume plus the belt and everything, and that was really cool because I wrote that page or those pages, and then I got to redesign the character, and it's nice when your editors let you do things like that.
So did you have any really awful experiences when you were collaborating?
Awful experiences collaborating? I don't know, nothing springs to mind.
Oh man, okay, or maybe not even collaborating, but just you're working on a book and just the situation's super awful. Has there ever been anything like that? I know you've had some tight deadlines and stuff, but is there anything worse than that? Is there anything worse than the tight deadline?
The tight deadline story, the 48 hours for 11 pages deadline story.
Yeah, but is there anything worse than that that's ever happened, or is that
there's nothing worse than that? But the one thing that I did hate is and I don't want to name names here, but
all right,
there was a project I was working on, and I just didn't like the project. I didn't like the designs, and I didn't like the level of hands-onmanship of the editor. Constant, throughout my career, I almost never. I just go finish, straight to inks, and I hand in inks. Right, because I know my job. I do my job. Jim Shooter would have loved me. Hire somebody good, let them do their job. But I had this one editor one time who was so flippin' hands-on. It was constant corrections, and it's I know what I'm doing. Could you stop worrying about your own little private vision of this thing and just let me do my job? But yeah, great person. Lovely human being, irritated me to no end.
Well, outside of that situation, when you're working on these books and they're pretty much all work for hire, so you don't own it. Did you ever find that something like that sort of stunted creativity? Was it still easy to be creative when you were working on something you didn't own?
I mean, it's still easy to be creative. It's just not easy to have fun.
Uh-huh.
And I draw because it's fun.
Yeah, but drawing for other people, I don't know, that always.
In fact, it's a little more challenging drawing for other people because you're drawing to please somebody else, right? And I
Yeah,
guess maybe that's what irritated me is like what I was drawing wasn't appreciated, which sounds kind of weird, but we all crave that appreciation for our
yeah.
craft. Um, and why hire somebody if you're just gonna second guess all the decisions they make?
Right. I don't think I could ever write for anybody else. And I remember one time, like 2 years ago, you were like, I'm sure if Marvel, offered you a whatever page rate, for a writer that you would take it. No, my answer is always no for that because I couldn't write somebody else's characters and somebody else's world, like something I didn't own. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't be creative that way or have fun with it.
Hmm,
Writing something I didn't own or writing for anybody else.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I really like to have fun with my ideas that I write, and I try to put my best ideas down. And if I'm not putting the best ideas down, I mean, it feels like I'm putting down garbage. So, if I'm doing something that I'm not even going to own, I don't think I'd be able to do my best effort, I suppose.
I don't know,
Um,
man.
there
I,
could be there could be an exception, like if it were like a short story, maybe. But if it's like if I'm gonna sit down and do like a run, like like these guys sit down, they do their 12 issue run or whatever. Like I don't think I could do like 12 full issues for somebody else.
well, I guess you're not up to the challenge, Nasser. What do you want from me?
No, I'm not. But
That's a challenge, dude.
I mean, I guess
Playing
so. I mean,
somebody else's wheelhouse is a challenge. So, I mean, yeah, it is. You may consider it more fun to do your own thing. I understand that, but it definitely has its own appeal. Like doing characters that you love, and you're like, oh man, what if? I always thought, wouldn't it be a great story if Spider-Man had did this fancy thing and blah blah blah, and it's just this story you've had in your head since you were a kid, and that's kind of why a lot of these comics suck, is because you can only have so many of those. Gosh, I've always wanted to see Spider-Man do this stories in your head,
right,
or you're like two years into a Spider-Man run, and you're like, what the hell should I have him do now?
right.
I
Especially,
gotta get this script done in the next 3 days, and I can't think of a good idea, but I gotta get it done. So they just squirt something out and then send it to the artist. It's
right, especially I don't want to be rude to anybody, but especially when you got someone like Dan Slott. Like I know it's the fun thing to do right now to pick on him, and I don't want to. I've read some of his Spider-Man that I've actually liked, but like he's been on it for, I forget. I know it's well over 100 issues, and I think one time I heard somebody say that he's done like 1/5 of all Spider-Man comics. So 1 out of 5 you pick up, it's probably a Slott comic.
really.
Um, yeah, I think I could be wrong on that, but I think somebody last year or maybe the year before had mentioned that around the time he was getting off
No, it's
Spider-Man.
probably he's doing 1/5 of the Spider-Man titles that are out, because there's got to be like 5 Spider-Man titles coming out at any given time.
I could have sworn they were talking about the Amazing Spider-Man run, but it's been a couple years. But the point is, I mean, he's there's like I don't know 700 or 800 issues, maybe a Spider-Man, probably even close to 1,000 by now, and I know he's done like, let's call it like 120 issues, maybe something outrageous like that. And I don't know, like you said, like if he had those stories of like, wouldn't it be cool if Spider-Man did this? I could only imagine how many other stories he could find that, because when the character's been around so long, it's like, well, this story, that's already been done. This story, that's already been done. That's the difficult part. But I don't know. Maybe some readers wouldn't notice. I mean, what are the odds that they've read every single Spider-Man story ever? To know if oh no, that was done in issue 289 or something outrageous like that. But yeah, but I don't know. I've actually had a really good experience collaborating recently, and here, let me exit the solo layout from you, and I'll share my screen so you can see it too if you're curious, Mike.
All right.
Let me share my screen here so now you can see it. But in Asile right here, let me go down to the first page, and I really love what Vic did here. Let me actually move the StreamYard thing there.
You can just press hide and it'll disappear.
Oh, well, I moved it out the way. I don't like to hide it. It reminds me I'm sharing my screen. But on this page here, this splash page, it wasn't the splash page in the book. This is page 1. Originally, the first panel was of the lady running, and then she was supposed to look over her shoulder in panel 2. And then panel 3 was supposed to be our big establishing shot that showed us how twisted the world was. Like, if you look at this and you can see everything's really off because of the German expressionism style we're going for. So everything looks really distorted, really dreamlike if you look at the building and the surroundings. And then panel 4 was supposed to be her, falling down. And so the way Vic did it was he combined it all into a splash page, so it was really in motion. So it's like she's a giant here and, falls out of the sky. And I think this page came out a lot better than how I had envisioned it, because I envisioned it like sort of traditional panels, panel 1, 2, and then we'd have the, panel 3 in the middle here, and then panel 4 she'd fall down. I think this works way better, and I love things like this when the artist will take the panel layout and get really creative with it.
Yeah, I do that on my big double page spreads quite a bit.
Yeah, I thought that was really nice, and of course, I'll scroll down and look at the other pages, but these are really nice as well, and I love how distorted things get, like when he stretches out her neck right here for emphasis. Like, her neck goes from, you see it, she's normal in the previous page, and on this page up to this point, and then, the neck is over-exaggerated. It's really creepy, and I think he does a great job, and here's page 4 as well. As you guys can see, like, the backgrounds are distorted as well, and we've got a random little frog right here in the center of the field at the insane asylum. But let me scroll back up to the top. But while we're plugging Asyle, of course, we'll plug Lone Star here, Mind of the Monster. Lone Star, a fallen soldier, has risen to fight the horrors that haunt our world. The grand conclusion, guys. So there's a couple weeks left to get this book, and there's the Black Friday deal for $100. What all comes in this Black Friday deal, Mike?
You get all 5 covers by myself, 2 by myself, 1 by Kim Jung-gi, 1 by Paolo Pantalina, 1 by Kari Evans, and 5 metal trading cards, all for $100. That's actually basically you're getting one of the comics and all the metal trading cards for free, because $25 would be like the signed comic price. Yeah. So it's a hell of a deal. I mean, it's 42% off and available till Monday. So get up on it, grab it like you want it.
Awesome. And then Monster Hunt. Let's get cracking. A super patriot, a titan encased Bigfoot, and an intergalactic executioner unite to save the world. 21 days left on this, and this one also has a Black Friday deal.
Yep. Except for that one has 6 cards, but 4 comics, because 2 of the covers are fold-out covers, so it's front and back, by myself and Matt Weldon, and then you got the Kelsey Shannon cover and the Elliot Fernandez cover, colored by Kelsey Shannon. But because there's 2 fold-out covers, I had to use 2 cards for each of those, so it's 6 cards. You get 4 comics, all signed, same deal, $100.
Awesome. So the links to these are in the description, guys, and we're going to premiere this, so we'll be there to put the links in the chat. And let me stop my screen real quick. Let me lock it back on you. There we go. We've also got Vic here. Vic, welcome.
Hey, what's this, a party?
Yeah, we're pre-recording right now. You missed the last 38 minutes or so. I've been asking Mike some questions about collaboration and about work ethic and stuff, but we still got a few other questions, Vic. I saved a few of the ones that me and you had talked about, ones that we wanted to ask Mike. And Mike, this is one I'm probably the most curious about. This. What do you think was the biggest level up in your art? What do you think you did that gave you the biggest improvement? And around, like, what project was that? Where could we really see your art just level up, like where you were just really satisfied with how much you improved?
I'm gonna say there's 2 key places. One was around 1996 or 97. I met a guy who well, actually, I already knew him, but I was working with a guy who's a life drawing teacher, and I had him criticize my work. and he ripped it to shreds. And I was like,
I love
wow.
when that happens.
Like, wow. I was like, I didn't even know how bad I was. And it amazed me because I always thought I was so good. And so when he ripped me to shreds and I realized how bad I was, even though I thought I was so great, I was like, wow, my opinion sucks. My opinion about my own art is not trustworthy. So, yeah, so I switched my mindset on there that I'm just at this point I'm never happy with what I do.
That's the mindset I have as well.
And it served me much better because when you're not happy with what you do, you're always looking for what's wrong
Right.
in your work. Then you can fix it. But if you always think your work is great, you'll never get better, or you might get better on accident.
do you want to share though, like what specifically like he pointed out?
Oh, dude, it started out. I mean, it was all basic structural stuff. He told me to get the Bridgman book. I got the Bridgman book. And then, as time went by, he would point out just, the things I needed to work on. And when it got to the point where when he started to tell me that I needed to work on my knuckles, I was like, okay, at least I've gotten far enough along that he's nitpicking my knuckles,
Right. Like something small, something. I've never read a comic book or looked at a drawing and been like, you know what, it needs better knuckles. So
Yeah. No, but it's important. Every part is important because you want to portray, to the best of your ability. Anyways, the second thing was it wasn't so much anatomical, which is what he was doing, structure and anatomy and all that stuff. Around the year 2000, I was working on JLA, and I noticed that when I would draw things like sketches or commissions or whatever, my characters looked a lot more organic. They flowed better. They felt more nuanced. They weren't stiff. And I realized it was because I was drawing directly to the page. I wasn't doing a layout or then a breakdown and then copying that over to another image. So I started just drawing straight to the page, and it fundamentally changed my books went from my characters went from being like super stiff to way more just lifelike and balanced and natural. And yeah, that was the last major paradigm shift I think I can remember.
But I'm curious about that. So why do you think that made him less stiff though?
I don't know, and it does. You know what? It's not equally applicable to every artist because I was talking to Tony Harris at a con and I told him about this revelation. He's like, I am the exact opposite. He's like, the first drawing I do is super stiff, and the more times I copy it, the looser it gets. I'm like, well, to each his own. So you can't, what works for me is not necessarily going to work for you, but give it a shot. Maybe it will. You never know.
Interesting.
So you mentioned the Bridgman book.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the Bridgman book. I remember like in the 90s, there was a big push. Everybody was recommending Bern Hogarth's Dynamic Anatomy.
Trash. Hogarth is trash.
Yeah.
Why is that?
It's not even easy to describe. It's abnormally fluid. It doesn't look natural at all. It's like he's taking I compare it to like what's his name, Quentin Tarantino, where he'll copy things and he'll put them into his movies, but he doesn't understand what works about them in the other movies. So it's just like these parts that don't go together well. But he learned the shorthand, but he doesn't understand the whole symphony. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Hogarth is
right.
Yeah.
It's not heavy on structure.
Yeah.
Of anatomy. I noticed that from, what I owned the book at one point in time. A
lot of people
there's
do.
another There's another great book. I forget what it is. Let me
Loomis,
see if I can find it real quick. Huh?
Andrew Loomis.
Loomis.
Yeah,
I think so.
Loomis is great. I would
That's it.
I would use Loomis and Bridgman together. Some guys just use Loomis, and I feel like some of their artwork can get a little soft. But together, I think they're a great teaching combination.
This is another question that me and Vic were talking about that we wanted to ask you, and this is also something you had mentioned earlier when I was asking you about your process of what it was like in your teens, because you got into the industry in your 20, and when you were 20, and so when you say you just drew a lot, and when you look at other artists that you really like, and you study them, what was something you like took away from those artists that you liked that you were studying, like when you looked at your favorite artists that were whether they were comic book artists or painters or whatever they were, like what did you take away the most that helped you?
I don't know. I loved John Byrne, and I just wanted to draw like John Byrne when I was younger. But then I got into Paul Smith, and Paul Smith had a level of. Paul Smith came from animation, so he understood flow and balance and stuff way better than John Byrne. John Byrne's characters are very stiff, in general. He's always like throwing locked armed punches and
Right.
and stuff like that, and it's like that's just not natural, and it takes somebody who understands basically, I don't want to just say animation, but how people move naturally. And Paul Smith, man, the way his characters just moved across a page, that was a whole different dimension that I wanted to use it. But I was still a very young artist, so I didn't. I don't think I ever captured that at that age. That was like 7th grade or something.
That reminds me of something Terry Moore said in his How to Draw book, and I absolutely love Terry Moore, top 5 artist for me, and especially his book Rachel Rising. It's really creepy, but in his How to Draw book, he mentioned something about being able to draw the wind between the trees. Being able to draw the unseen stuff, and that's sort of what you just reminded me of when just how fluid the drawings need to be and how it actually needs to look like movement. I think that goes back to needing to learn how to draw wind, the unseen stuff, a character that actually looks like they're alive.
Yep. And that's just for me, like shifting the weight in a foot to like here, the fact that I have his hair swept back, his neck craned forward, this is all this movement, like even though it looks like he's standing still, it's like just pushing into that other character. It's like that's, I don't know, that's acting. Right. You're the director, man. When you're the artist, you're the director, and you got to make sure all the actors are telling the story correctly.
Yeah. And well, Vic, you could go on. I didn't want to interrupt you. I know I got roasted on our previous stream for interrupting you. I got roasted really bad by the chat. But I didn't want to interrupt you again. So if you were saying something,
no, I was just gonna kind of just reiterate that, because that's actually some advice I got from a guy that unfortunately he's no longer with us. What was his name? Paul Ryan.
He did. I think he drew the Flash, didn't he? With I think with it might have been Grant Morrison's run. I can't remember, but I know who you mean.
He he was the artist for Ravage 2099, and he used to work at Marvel, and he wasn't like a superstar. He was like a middle of the road, really steadfast comic book artist.
I remember his name. I just don't. I'm blanking on his art.
Yeah, I think he might have drawn some issues of the Flash, because I know I've read that name somewhere. I know exactly who you mean. I know who he is. I think he might have drawn some of Grant Morrison's Flash.
Yeah, he was he was a Massachusetts-based artist, and I met him at the Boston. Well, it wasn't. I mean, we don't have a Comic-Con, but we have always had a convention at the Hyatt Center here in Boston every year, and I met him a couple times there, and I got to talk to him, and that was some of the advice that he had given me, and just about the whole acting thing. You're the director. You have to show the emotion on your characters. You have to decide how they're going to portray what the story says, and so that's kind of always stuck with me. Still working at it, but I mean that's always stuck with me.
Yeah, and Mike, I got a question for you. This was one that Vic had suggested, but but he wants to know more about what you do when you get artist block.
I just pick up a book by an artist that I like and I look at it for a couple minutes.
Is that really it?
Cool.
Is there anything more to that? Does that ever not work?
Just looking at great art makes me want to draw.
Has there ever been an instance where you just couldn't figure out how to approach it whenever you were stuck and you just had to completely scrap whatever you were working on?
Yeah, I mean, there's been covers that I abandoned, like after I got around the breakdown point, and I'm just like, this is trash, and I just start over. But it doesn't stop. I don't stop and go drink myself to sleep. I just
Right.
start over,
But
So
Vic,
kind of in conjunction with that last question, right? Sort of. But going back to like when you were first starting out and everything, and this is something that maybe would be helpful to like some of the newer talent that's trying to make themselves a way in the industry or whatever. At what point did you become, I'd say, confident in your skills?
Well, the problem was
Confident
I was confident before I was good enough to be a, arrogant little idiot. That's why it was like, that's why I walked up to Jim Lee with my art and I threw it in his face and I said, "Hey, I thought you'd like to see this." Confidence has never been an issue for me.
but you were right in that instance because he did like it.
Well, yeah.
Well, okay.
But that's the thing, is that what he liked about it was that because I was referencing his art and Silvestri's art. It was a Wildstorm it was a Wildcats versus Cyberfrog piece, and because I was referencing them while I was drawing it, I got a lot of Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri isms in the drawing, and so what he liked about it was that it looked like he drew it.
You know what I always think of whenever me and you were talking and we mention any of the image guys is I'm pretty sure it was my first ever stream on Ethan's channel, and I sort of made a comparison to us indies, the comparison between us and right now and image back then, and I had said something about like you had the top artists from that time leaving, and then I just saw you in the bottom corner of the screen shaking your head furiously, and I think Ethan deleted that stream, or maybe it's private, but if it were to be found, you could just hear me go sorry, Mike's shaking his, and like I just like completely lost it. And I think he said something like, well, they definitely weren't in the top 7, and I was like, oh, okay. Something like that. Like, you really scared me.
No, and that's not against Jim Lee. Jim Lee was definitely one of the top artists. He was my favorite artist for years back then. But some of the other artists, they were just tag-alongs, man.
All right. I don't know if you want to name names of which one you think was the biggest tag-along. But what was that?
Nothing.
Oh. Okay.
I think they all had a little something that was special, unique about them, that anybody now can look back and learn stuff from. Like, Alex Garner as an inker was like
No,
fantastic.
Alex Garner was a find. Alex Garner was brought into Wildstorm. He wasn't working in the industry, as far as I know. Yeah, and they brought him on. Dude, Alex was a better artist than Jeff Campbell at the time.
Oh,
But
really?
Alex wanted to be an inker, so I don't know why that is. If you look at his stuff now, I know most people don't even see his stuff now, but just look up Alex Garner's art, and dude, you'll be like, dang, he's fantastic. He's an incredible draftsman.
My favorite out of all those image guys is Todd McFarlane, of course. I think that might have been one of the ones you told me you didn't like. I don't know. We don't gotta name any names here, but I think out of all of them, though, the best writer, at least from the stuff I've read, was Eric Larson, because I read the first 3 or 4, maybe, I can't really see them from here, trades of Savage Dragon, and I really liked it. Eventually I stopped picking it up, though, because me and him got into some dumb Twitter beefs. But it's really unfortunate because like I've just seen like and I if I repeat some of the things that happen in the current issues, you're gonna have to put a bar of soap in my mouth, Mike. But so I'm not gonna name them. But like I've seen some really degenerate stuff that happens in sort of the newer issues from the last couple of years, and I guess it's better to stop reading after three or four trades instead of continuing and then just.
I'll tell you what, dude. If he didn't have young kids at the time, he would have been doing that degenerate crap back at the beginning.
That's just. I don't know. I don't get why he. I don't know if I should say ruined his book like that, or if it were already ruined. I don't know how long he's been doing that stuff. I just know about the last couple years, some of the things that we've seen in it that people posted around. Just really disgusting.
He's just a degenerate, man.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. I that's an entirely different market. That shouldn't even be like mixed in with regular comic books. I mean, that's an entirely
really
different market.
It's pornography.
He's doing porn, is what he's doing.
Like that stuff was on the normal shelves at my comic shop. Like my comic shop does have a certain section for those types of books, and I swear I've never been inside of it. Okay, but they've got that section, and I just think it's weird. It's on the main shelf instead of over in this little it's a really small adult section. Like I was really surprised they didn't put it over there.
In a black bag.
What was that?
It should be in a black bag.
Yes, it should be.
Now, there's not to say that there isn't a place for that kind of thing in comics, but I mean, it definitely needs to be sectioned out, and you definitely need to know there was some really, but that, I mean, he does it in such a way that it's just there's no purpose to it. There's no real artistic value to it whatsoever. No, it's not like
wants to draw porn, so freaking
right.
Why doesn't he just draw a porn book, man?
Howard Chaykin's American Flag was definitely an adult book, and it did have lots of, of some of the same types of material, but it was a serious story. It wasn't something that was it wasn't like those elements were part of the world building and not like some sort of sight gag.
I'm also really against it too, because if the shop owner doesn't know exactly what's in that book, and Savage Dragon has been around for a while, and there wouldn't be a problem, with the if a 15-year-old kid went in and bought the first issue of Savage Dragon, but if that not the same little kid, but a different 15-year-old in the future, in current day, if he just went in and grabbed that's a problem to me. And it's just a really disgusting thought that there could be some kid that goes in there and just gets it off the common shelf with all the other image titles, and then the shop owner is going to sell it to him.
100%. That shop owner could go out of business because if a parent sees that book in their kid's hand, they're like, "Where did you get this?" And it's like, "Oh yeah,
right."
In this it's like, dude, that is illegal.
And if you're like a dad who grew up in the 90s and he remembers Savage Dragon, he was blah blah blah, and he's there at the comic book store with 8 or 9-year-old kid who's like, oh, I want to pick this one up. It looks funny, looks kind of cool, And he was like, oh yeah, I remember Savage Dragon. That's a good book, But boom,
Yeah, I haven't taken my nieces or my nephew to a comic shop often, but the times I have, I've been very cautious with them grabbing something off the shelf. It feels weird, like I gotta be like, let me look at this first.
Yeah.
Because I really think like 99.999% of these books coming out in the comic shop should be kid friendly, and it's just
Well, I don't even know if it's kid friendly, but it just should,
at least I should say not degenerate.
right?
Just as long as it's not degenerate, I think I'd be fine. Like if my niece picked up a book and there's violence in it, I'd actually be fine with that. But if it's like just what's in Savage Dragon, which it's already made its way into plenty of other books, like the one Batman issue that. I don't even know how to put it politely, but when you see body parts, I guess.
Batwing. It's called Batwing.
Yeah. Like that was on the same shelf on just the main shelf. Like it's just, what if a kid wants a Batman comic and their parent just grabs it off the shelf? Like it's just really weird to me.
Yeah.
And how soon do they take Superman there? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mike, we've got a couple other questions for you. We've actually been going for a while. We've just passed the hour mark, but I do got a couple more questions for you. I guess I'll get the easy one out the way first because I think you already mentioned this one, but it's really a question that interests me, so I wrote it down anyways. But so I think I already asked you this on another stream, but. As far as when you get a script, like, are there any certain types of tips or notes that you like getting in the book? Do you like getting little tips on this might happen later in the story? Like, do you like getting like spoilers in the story so that way you might like hide things in it easier? Or are there any sort of things you just absolutely love when the writer includes? Do you like when he leaves you little notes or things or little tips?
I'll tell you what I hate is when a writer fails to include a key moment or a key issue or something until the last part of the book or whatever. It's like, and Johnny takes his glove off. And I was like, since when did he have gloves on?
This was something I remember talking about with you a long time ago, and I forgot the exact example I gave them, but I made a joke about it, like, and then he grabs the sword off the wall, and now you gotta go back and you gotta put a sword on the wall.
Yeah. I mean, that's the writer's job, establishing shot. There's a sword hanging on the wall, next to the portrait of Johnny's father,
Right.
Hint. Or note, this sword will be used later on, so please make sure you include it here. Stuff like that. But no, when it's just out of the blue, it's like he removes his rosary from around his neck. It's like, what?
How much leeway do you like when they give you in the script? Do you really prefer like when they get like super specific, like with panel layouts? Somebody's echoing. I don't know. It might be you because it looks like Vic's muted. But anyways, but do you like when they get super specific with the panel layouts, or do you like when they leave you a lot of room?
I don't know. It doesn't really bother me either way because if I don't like the way it lays out, I'll just delete a panel. And I've had writers just be so freaking redundant, and I'm like, we can do all of this in one panel. It doesn't have to be 3 panels, It's like, or the vice versa will happen. Someone will be like, these 12 things happen in this one panel. I'm like, no, they don't.
Right. And finally, I got a really interesting question for you, but I'm not going to cut off Vic. I think you're about to say something. I'm not going to get roasted for it a second time.
Okay, so that kind of runs into something I was going to ask you. So say you have a script that you have to maintain by, right? But a writer has given you like far too many elements in that one page. And that kind of falls into like what you were saying about that panel, like 12 things happen in this panel, and you're like, no, they don't. But if you have to try to do that, what's your approach to try and work that out?
I try to give importance to what's important. And I know that sounds like a glib answer, but sometimes they're like, well, the cat knocks the jar off the thing while the wife is grabbing the pan off the thing, and the husband is pulling the gun out of the thing. It's like, okay, all this has to happen at the same time. The cat never appears in the book again, so I don't care if it knocked anything over. The wife doesn't actually do anything with the frying pan. So the important thing that happens here is the husband grabs the gun because he's going to shoot the wife later. So
Right.
that's the thing that I would put the importance on. If there's room and time to put the other stuff in, then that's fine. But if it's just nonsensical visual stuff and not important to the story, then it's it's fluff.
Right. So just trim the fat.
Fluff is fine. Fluff is fine. But when you've got fluff and you've got stuff, you need the stuff. Get rid of the fluff.
Right. And well, this last question, which is probably my favorite question that we have for this stream. Well, it's going to tie into our books, so I'm going to just go through the campaigns one more time here before I ask it. But of course, guys, there's a SILE down in the description, and I'm putting it in the live chat now if you guys are watching the premiere. This is mine, Vic's book about a woman hunted by Dracula in an insane asylum. We've got 23 days left on it. You guys can get it for $10. There's also Mike's 2 books, Lone Star, Mind of the Monster. Lone Star, A Fallen Soldier, has risen to fight the horrors that haunt our world. The Grand Conclusion. And you guys could get all 3 of these books here. You could read the PDF of book 1 for free. There's also the Black Friday deal, which, I guess if you want to reiterate it, Mike.
The Black Friday deal for Lone Star, Mind of the Monster, you get all 5 different covers by myself, by Kim Jung-gi, by Paolo Pantalina, by Kari Evans, and the last one by myself, plus 5 metal trading cards, which I guess I got one right here, but you're probably showing the other thing.
Well, here, I just went back to show it.
Yeah, these things are great. I mean, look at how the colors. Well, this will be how they all look on the on those metal trading cards. It's the only place you can get the metal trading cards because I'm not going to print them again. This will just be for the Black Friday weekend deal. And frankly, that price, $100, that's the price for $4. So if you're getting this, you're getting 1 free book and you're getting all the metal cards for free. It's a heck of a deal. I would consider getting it. Even if you only want 1 book, you can give the rest away. Whatever.
Awesome. And then
That's
there's also Monster Hunt Let's Get Crackin', which is directed by Mike. It's written by Mike Barron, and it's got art by Matt Weldon. Let me scroll down here and show you guys the fantastic art right here from Weldon. This one's also
phenomenal.
This one's also got a Black Friday deal. Let me zoom out there. And if you want to go over this one too, you can.
The Black Friday deal for for Monster Hunt is similar, but you get 4 books and 6 trading cards because 2 of the covers are 2-page fold-out covers, and so I have to, much like in the first Monster Hunt campaign, the Black Friday deal had it had 4 covers, but 2 of the covers went together, so it'll have the 6 trading cards instead of the 4, and then the 4 covers all signed and then delivered to you, signed by me, delivered to you by me. So again,
awesome.
$100. Tried to keep the Black Friday deals down to a simple number, not too expensive.
So Mike, you've got a ton of ideas for indie comics, and I know you've talked about quite a few of them, like Atomic Family, and I think you've talked before about revisiting your book. I think it's called The Imaginaries. I know I read it 2 years ago on Kindle Unlimited. So you've got a ton of ideas, and so what are you when you're looking for ideas, what are you looking for?
I don't know what I'm looking for. My ideas, when I get an idea, if I think it's a good idea, I'll just start running with it and start playing with it. And I've got a whole folder, an IP folder on my computer, just full of different ideas I've had over the years, and I took the ones that I think are applicable or maneuverable into a superhero universe, and that's going to be my foundation for the Blacklist universe. So
Yeah, and
uh,
I mean,
I don't generally sit there and try to think up ideas. I will Ideas will come to me, and then, like I said, I'll run with them. I'll write them down. I'll play with them.
yeah, I mean, I guess like also, sort of what I mean is like, is there like a certain type of story you're always looking to tell, or certain kinds
Dude,
of stories you like to tell?
um, good ones.
Yes, I mean, like as far as like like messages and stuff and like themes, like
Dude,
are there?
it's all over. I have a story that's basically the inverse of It's a Wonderful Life. It's called It's a Miserable Life. Right? It's about a guy who he goes through all that stuff, and like in It's a Wonderful Life, but at the end he decides the world would be a better place without him.
Oh,
Right?
that's dope.
I've got a story
That's
called
depressing.
yeah called Killing Eve. It's about a girl whose roommate thinks she's going out with her ex-fiance, and so she's trying to kill her and make it look like an accident. Like, it's this dark comedy. But at the very end you discover that the guy that spoilers, at the very end you discover that it's like the dude that she thinks he's going out with, and the dude, her ex-fiance, like show up at the door at the last minute, and he's like, "Hey, you'll never believe this guy's got my name." I've got superhero stories. I've got Six Gun Samurai. I've got dude. I write stories. I come up with stories in every possible genre you can think of. They're not all going to fit in Blacklist universe, but no, there's not.
So, Mike,
I just think a good story is a good story.
one that I'm really hoping that you decide to finally make,
Godsword.
that I've been excited about, like Godsword. Yes.
Yep.
What's a scoop on Godsword?
I asked Ben Avery to give me the script, and he still hasn't given me the script. Paolo Pantalino was sitting there waiting for me because he wants me to do the layouts for the pages for him. And Ben still hasn't given me the mother flipping script. So, I don't know what to do. I'm not gonna fly over. Hey, wait, he lives in Chicago.
All right, I'll go visit him.
Grab a baseball bat real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, go knock on the door.
I will, but
visit to my friend, if you know what I'm saying.
all right. Well, I guess that's a good note to end on, especially because we've been going for a while. We've been going for an hour and 12, almost an hour and 13 minutes now. But thank you guys for joining me for episode 2 of the Making Comics Show, which sort of needs a better name than that, but it's the best name I was able to think of on short notice with the other episode when I just sat down to record and I was like, I need a title. So it's subject to change, I guess. But everybody, please check out our books. Of course, there's mine, Vic's book Asyle, which let me scroll down and show you guys the cover here. This is the wonderful cover, and you guys can get our book for $10. We've also recently revealed the trading card art right here from Jim O'Reilly. And please also check out Mike's books, Lone Star Mind of the Monster and Monster Hunt Let's Get Crackin'. And if you guys have any other things you want to plug before we end, go ahead.
No, I've got the Maga 7s available. There's also a $50 5-cover signed book tier for Black Friday. And that's all in stock. So if you want to get a Christmas present for a friend, or get some white elephant Christmas gifts for your liberal buddies and watch their heads explode when they open them up, then you can have those by Christmas.
Awesome. And Vic?
There you go.
Vic, you got anything else you want to plug?
Okay. So what I'd like to do is today for Small Business Saturday, I was running a 12-hour special of every backer today would get a free sketch card. So I want to extend that through to the end of Cyber Monday.
All right. All right,
So
sounds good.
all this weekend, if you back, you get a sketch card, which is a $15 value. So that's like getting $15 free on top of your $10 backing of our book. If you back any of the tiers that has multiple books, you'll get multiple sketch cards. It's one sketch card for every book.
Sounds great. Sounds awesome. So everybody go check out our books. All the links are down in the description. And of course, while we premiere this, we'll be in the chat with the links as well, guys. And I hope you all have a great day. And let us know if there's any topics or any guests that you guys want to see for episode 3. We don't have really a set schedule with this, but maybe we will in the future. Anyways, thank you for joining me, you guys. Peace.
Thanks.